Happy late evening to you all, YouTube, and I am back with a video about some stuff I've been up to lately, because I just realized a whole bunch of stuff had built up that I totally forgot I'd finished, and so here we go with a whole whack of shit. First thing was this book that I got from Christmas from my wife called Young Leafs. It kind of chronicles the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think it was the 16-17 season where they had finally had all of their big rookie draft picks in the lineup all together in Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and then some of the other signings they made like Nikita Zaitsev on defense and stuff like that. And how there was supposed to be all this pain and suffering predicted a la Mike Babcock, and the Leafs surprised everybody with how well they played for being such a young, inexperienced team. And on the second last game of the season against the Penguins, played themselves into the playoffs. So it kind of chronicles that journey, and along the way delves into the background and upbringing of all of these players, and is kind of a good insight into the rebuild process and what's been going on in the Leafs organization over the past few years. So any Leaf reading for me is good reading. So the next few things are all CDs. The first one is Greta Van Fleet's most latest release, which is again called Anthem of the Peaceful Army. I always have to look at it. Too many words. Anyways, another great solid CD from Greta Van Fleet. Probably not as good overall as From the Fires. I've found From the Fires more solid through and through, and also a lot more big recognizable hits, radio friendly, I guess, hits. But overall, this is a really good album as well, and it stuck to what they've done with their kind of modern classic rock sound, and the very Led Zeppelin-esque vocals and music as well. Solid listen there. Next one was the Megadeth Peace Sells But Who's Buying album, which was their second release from back in 86, was it? 86. A number of videos ago, I mentioned their first release, Killing is My Business and Business is Good, and I mentioned how it was a really raw and rough, rugged kind of album. This one is kind of Megadeth at their perfect best. It did not sound rough and raw, and it sounded polished. It was a gleaming metal masterpiece. Riffs galore on this album. And it opens that way with Wake Up Dead. That's one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's just solid listen through and through, and it just gets you, like you see people in metal videos, like fans getting up on stage and being all zombie-like and jumping into the crowd. It just gets you into that trance of just riffing, right? And that's what this album is. It is straight up riffing, and it is straight up awesome. The third album is April Wine's Greatest Hits, and April Wine to me is a band that for all of my life was kind of unknown. I heard so many of their songs on the radio without knowing it was them. And I didn't even know they were Canadian up until recently, until I started researching them after I bought this album. But once I started listening to it, I think there's 14 songs on it, and I knew at least half of them like supremely well. Like I could recite most of the lyrics from all of them because I've heard them so many times over the years, and I just didn't know it was April Wine that did these songs. And I guarantee that if anybody was to buy this album and listen to it and go, oh yeah, like same as me, like if they didn't know who April Wine were, they go, oh, I know their music to some degree, right? Like because they're just they're kind of like a classic rock band from the 70s and stuff, but they also do a lot of ballads as well. There's only a few ballads on this album. Most of it's kind of their more upbeat classic rock kind of stuff, but they are kind of kings of the ballads, and there are a few on there, but for ballads they're not bad. I don't really like the mushy stuff when it comes to music. I like the energetic rock and roll kind of stuff. But that was a great pickup. I was superbly impressed by it, and listened to it quite a bit. Oh God, so much stuff. Next thing I did was another book, kind of one geared towards younger readers. Marvel's been releasing tons of books recently, and this one is called Iron Man: The Gauntlet. In this story, Tony Stark is in Ireland, and he's to attend an environmental summit in the suit as Iron Man, and so he's kind of preparing. And as he's actually flying to the event, he notices some sort of suspicious activity on this uninhabited coastal island, and his suit's artificial intelligence, who he's dubbed Friday, kind of guides him through what's going on and provides surveillance on the island. And he decides to go and investigate it before he goes to the summit, and ends up getting captured in some sort of magnetic trap or something like that. And when he comes to, he is confronted with this red-haired Irish girl who sounds an awful lot like Friday, and it turns out it is Friday. It's this Irish girl. I'm not even sure how to say her name, so I'm just going to call her Friday. She hacked Iron Man's systems, which nobody had managed up till that point, and guided Tony into this scenario. And she tells him why. She said she approached Tony Stark a while back about rescuing her sister, who had been kidnapped and taken to an island off of the coast of Africa or something as a hostage, as a nurse. And Tony said he didn't want to get involved because the leadership there had just changed and they were making strides, and he didn't want to upset the situation there. So she took matters into her own hands and is going to try and get Tony Stark to help her no matter what. Now, what Friday doesn't realize is that she is being played. The people that are backing this little mission of hers to capture Iron Man, the guy that's kind of the leader of this bunch, is actually the Mandarin in disguise. And after Friday captures Tony Stark, Mandarin then announces to Friday that he is not who she thinks he is, and he actually has his own plans, and her plans no longer matter. So both her and Tony are jailed, and Tony is soon released because the Mandarin wants to have a one-on-one fight to the death with Tony Stark. So when he's released, Tony and Friday have to use their big brains to figure a way out of this situation and save the day, because while Mandarin's trying to finish off Tony Stark, his goons are going to go to the environmental summit and kill all the ministers and stuff like that and cause a big scene and blame it on Iron Man because they're going to steal his suit and use his suit. So they've got to find their way out of the situation, save all the ministers, and save the day. That's what they do, right? So that was that. The next bunch of stuff is games, some games. I got this a long time ago and just finally managed to play it. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale series, which is the same company that does the Minecraft story modes. So it's not like an action game. It's kind of like a movie, and you just press buttons along the way to decide on things to say to other characters, to do some actions during fight sequences, and the decisions you make during these sequences kind of tailor how the story goes along. There's 5 episodes in this story, and it focuses on, at the start, the Nova Corps bringing the Guardians to fend off Thanos, and once Thanos is dealt with, they find this artifact called the Eternity Forge, which is very powerful, and then this Kree named Hala is after it, so then they go on the lam from her, and from there it all unravels, and you have to decide on what to do with the Forge, and what to do with Thanos' body, and all those decisions kind of lead you into this big mess, and of course there's lots of arguing and turmoil along the way, because that's what the Guardians do, right? I'd never give a game like this a 10, because it's, you're not really playing a game, it's more of a movie, right? But if any game comes close to it, it's this. I don't know if the voices were all done by the characters or the actors from the movie, but it sure sounded, if they weren't, they found people that sounded an awful lot like them. The story was good. Like, I found that the way they argued and the decisions they made and the stuff they got into with each other was very in keeping with the movie and what we know about these guys. And of course, the soundtrack was amazing. The music in the game is awesome, because that's kind of Star-Lord's thing, right, is his music. So that was a great game. Another one that me and James are still kind of playing, but we've played through it quite a few times, is Rocket League. He got this for my birthday, I think. And it's weird. We saw it when it very first came out at Best Buy, and we tried the demo, and we thought it was awesome, but we just kind of never got around to getting it. It's like soccer, but with cars. So you drive on teams of either 2, 3, or 4 cars, I think, and you bounce around this big kind of round orb that's actually a bomb, and when it goes in the other team's net, it blows up and blows everybody away, and it's just weird. You play these seasons, and you have to use turbo. You can jump, you can swivel in the air, you can drive on the ceiling and the walls, and yeah, you just play soccer with cars. And soccer sucks normally, but with cars, it's awesome. So it's a really cool game. It's a game that you would think like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we'll try it, and then you start playing it, and you can't stop. And then you can play online with people too, and there's even, like, this game's huge, like there's tournaments and all sorts of shit. Yeah, it is super fun, and it's one that we're just going to keep playing from time to time. We've played through a number of seasons, we've played online a lot, and we're still going to continue to play it, but I felt confident that we'd played enough to finally put it out there as being done. But the final game of this round is one I've been working on forever, and I don't know if I'm just old and stupid and it took me that long because of that, or if this is actually how long it takes. But Pikmin 3, I never played any of the other Pikmin games in the series, so this was kind of new to me. I mean, I'd seen Pikmin on Nintendo Land and stuff, so I was kind of familiar with the look of it, but I've never actually played a Pikmin game. So in this game, you are a team of 3 explorers from this planet called Kopai, Charlie, Alf, and Brittany, and you're going out into the universe to try and find a new food supply for your planet because everybody's eating everything and you're running out of resources, yada yada. So along the way you crash land, you lose your cosmic drive key, which is what makes your ship go into light speed or whatever it is they call it. So you're stranded on this planet and you have to set out and explore it, and at the same time look for fruit so you can take seeds back to your planet with you, and also to keep you fed and filled with energy as you do your explorations. And along the way you find evidence of Olimar, who I think factors into the first couple games, who's also an explorer and who was stranded on the planet, and he actually has the cosmic drive key, which is the key to getting your ship going again. So you have to track him down, and along the way you run into these little creatures called Pikmin. They look kind of like vegetable matter, little living leaves and stuff like that. And there's 5 different kinds, and they all have different abilities. Some you can shoot high in the air and they can reach hard to reach places. Some can fly, some can go in water, some can resist electrical damage, some can resist fire damage, some can break crystal, and along the way you run into enemies and puzzles. So you have to manage your fleet of Pikmin properly and use them to solve these puzzles and make progress and eventually find Olimar and escape the planet. It took me a super long time to play. I found myself very hard to get up for this game because the days come and go so fast that just when you're starting to make progress, you have to go back to your ship when the sun's going down so you don't get eaten by the wildlife, and go back up into space and come back down the next morning for your next day of adventures. And I found that you just couldn't go out and explore. It was always like you're doing everything in a rush, and so I found it very hard to get into this game. It was fine once I got going, but I was always like, oh, Pikmin. I would always go play something else. But in the end, I loved it. It's a total 10. It's a very unique, different kind of game with a different kind of pace and a different kind of style. So I found myself kind of weirdly playing it. I don't know, it was weird, but very good. I highly recommend. And then the last thing, Jimmer and I just finished watching the 8th season of The Simpsons. This collection, 4 discs, 25 episodes, golden age of The Simpsons. A number of great episodes. The one where the Flanders house blows down in a tornado. Lisa follows Bart to military camp. Oh God, what else is there? Oh, Mr. Burns loses his fortune, and Lisa has to help him, and he opens up the plant that mashes up all the fish. Mr. Burns, his long lost son, that's voiced by Rodney Dangerfield, finally seeks him out. Mulder and Scully from X-Files show up. But my favorite one by far, and one of my favorites of the entire Simpsons series, is the Mr. Sparkle episode where Homer and the kids go to the dump to look for junk, and in the rubble they find this Japanese dish detergent box that seemingly has Homer's face on it as their logo, and so he's confused, and so they look into it, and they get this videotape from this company called Mr. Sparkle, and it's this short little video of what Mr. Sparkle is and whatever, and it's just the funniest, like, 2-minute sequence of the whole series almost, and it's one of those episodes that it has stuck in my mind for my entire life ever since I first saw it. And when I saw it was in this season, and it's right near the end too, so we had to wait for it. But I was so excited to watch it again, and it was worth the wait. It was worth every 22 minutes or whatever it was. So yeah, so that's all for now. There will be more because we've got a couple movies that we're going to be watching soon, and we want to go see the new Lego movie as well. And of course I'm reading lots of books and stuff too, so I will be back with another one of these videos shortly, I'm sure, and of course lots more Leafs videos, and of course lots more gameplay videos from various games on the PS4. Until then, have a great week, great whatever, and we will talk to you soon.